Hello, thank you for joining our Instagram webinar today, focused on brand building. Before we get started, let me introduce everyone who's on the call. I'm Kelly Rockna. I'm on the Product Marketing Communications team here at Instagram. With me, I have Christina Ting, who leads market operations for branding initiatives. On any given day, she's helping define the products and features for advertisers on Instagram and bringing them to life through robust go-to-market strategies. And to put a cherry on top, everyone loves a creative. We have Eric Uldren here, who has helped shape the creative approach to Instagram for businesses. And together, we'll be talking about how we arm businesses to succeed in telling their brand story on Instagram, the types of content people seek on Instagram and how that influences you as an advertiser, our brand building products and what opportunities that gives your brand, how Instagram's targeting delivers personally relevant ads, defining good creative and ways to approach creativity on the platform, and we'll wrap up with media planning examples to bring your advertising to life. We also have a few handouts that you'll see in the panel under the Handout tab. We'll walk through those at the end of our time together. We'll spend about 30 minutes covering the content, and then we'll wrap up with a Q&A portion where you'll be able to ask questions on any of the things we cover today. Feel free to send your questions throughout the webinar in the questions window in the control panel on your screen. Now, to set the stage, Instagram is proud to be part of the Facebook family of apps and services. There's a good chance you've heard us talk about how Facebook is a place for personal discovery and Instagram is your place for inspiration. So let's talk about what that means for advertisers. Every day, marketers around the world build their brands on Instagram, and they do so for three reasons. First, brand stories thrive on Instagram. That's because people come to Instagram with an open mindset, seeking visual inspiration, making it the ideal platform to tell your brand story. Next, our powerful targeting allows you to tell richer stories and drive personal relevance. In particular, by integrating Instagram into Facebook's targeting, we've made it easy to reach real people and deliver personally relevant ads on Instagram. And finally, brand building on Instagram works. Instagram ads drive real results every day. So let's unpack this a little bit more. Images are a universal language. They transcend borders, cultures, and generations. And every day, people around the world connect through this visual language. Many people describe Instagram as a place of diverse creativity, a place where they express themselves through photography, art, fashion, food, and life itself. Where people on Facebook discover content through the lens of the relationships they have with friends and family, with Instagram, there's a different window into the world they seek. Instagram is a place of visual discovery, where people are open-minded to come across new places, new people, new trends, and even new products in a visual-first environment. People also come to Instagram to be inspired by a broad and diverse set of interests, seeking a glimpse into other worlds from people and brands. In just 5 years, we've grown our global community of over 400 million Instagrammers, 100 million in the US alone. This momentum makes us the fastest growing social platform in the US, according to eMarketer. And we're also one of the largest social networks, second only to Facebook. And we know that people spend a lot of time on the platform, with an average of 21 minutes per day. Together, Instagram and Facebook lead in time spent on mobile. In fact, 1 out of every 5 minutes spent on mobile is on either of these two platforms. To put that in perspective, that's more than the next 10 mobile platforms combined. So let me pause there and hand it over to Christina, who's going to drill further into how Instagram drives business results.
Thank you, Kelly. We've just said that people come to Instagram every day seeking visual inspiration. But how do we know that? We recently conducted a study in the UK to better understand how consumers perceive Instagram and the content on our platform. In a 1,500-person study we call the Presenter Effect, we asked consumers to rate the attributes of 5 randomized images across 5 different platforms, ensuring a balanced user base across Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Pinterest. Each of the 5 groups was shown the exact same image chosen from 3 different product categories presented natively in their respective platforms. After the exposure, people were asked to rate the experience across several dimensions. We then looked at how each image scored differently across each platform. What did we learn? Overall, consumers told us the same image shown on Instagram was more imaginative, more distinctive, more creative, more inspiring, and more importantly, more cool. Since the images were controlled across the 5 platforms, they were really telling us how they perceived Instagram. These attributes make Instagram an ideal platform for telling your brand story. It's a place where consumers are inclined to see your brand as imaginative, distinctive, creative, and inspiring. And people seek inspiration inherent to their passions. In fact, 54% of relationships on Instagram aren't reciprocal. Along with the reach of the platform, the Instagram consumer experience is likewise expansive. In particular, people seek a wide variety of inspiration on Instagram. The interests they explore can range from creative expression to humor, pop culture, sports, and lifestyle content. At the same time, brands have always been an important part of the Instagram experience, and consumers tell us so. In fact, 60% of users say they learn about products and services on Instagram, and 75% say they've taken an action after being inspired by a post. These actions include visiting a website for more information, searching for something specific they saw, shopping, or telling a friend about a post. This highlights the consumer mindset on the platform and the importance of telling your business's story on Instagram. So how can you put Instagram to work for your brand? Here's a look at our creative canvas. All ads on Instagram appear in a bold, linear format where consumers are open-minded and attentive. Let's start with photo ads. In addition to our iconic square format, we now support landscape aspect ratios. Video ads. Video ads on Instagram also support landscape, as well as Facebook's new slideshow format and have a maximum length of 60 seconds. Carousel ads allow you to show sequenced images in one unit and are a great way to deliver deeper storytelling on the platform. In fact, we've seen carousel ads drive a 2.5 greater ad lift compared to static images. We're also investing heavily in video overall on the platform. Over the last 6 months, the time people spent watching videos on Instagram has increased by more than 40%. More importantly, video helps drive business results. Our research with Facebook has proven that adding video to a campaign drives higher favorability over static image campaigns. Video is a format that we know is important to advertisers when identifying ways to inspire their customers. Not only is Instagram a visual environment where brand storytelling thrives, it's also a place to drive personal relevance. In particular, we've integrated Instagram into Facebook's best-in-class targeting. All of the highly accurate targeting you're familiar with on Facebook also works on Instagram. That means you can reach real people and drive personal relevance on Instagram just as you do on Facebook. And by integrating Instagram into Facebook's targeting, we've made storytelling on Instagram even richer. You can now learn more about your target audience with Facebook's Audience Insights tool, then target those consumers on both Instagram and Facebook. With reach and frequency buying and TRP buying, you can plan predictably and manage your message across both platforms. Lastly, you can sequence your business's message and lead consumers through your brand story. Ad sequencing is available via reach and frequency, but you can also remarket to people who have watched your brand's videos on both Instagram and Facebook using custom audiences from video views. Aside from these tools and formats, we hope everyone here understands that brand building on Instagram works. Across over 700 campaigns that have run on Instagram, 98% of campaigns have generated significant lift in ad recall. We see an overall average ad recall lift of 18 points, which is actually 2.8 times higher than Nielsen norms for online advertising. The bottom line is, brand advertising on Instagram drives value for businesses. And to help you enable the ability to tap into these great results, I will now pass it on to Eric Oldrin to speak in more detail around our creative principles and best practices on the platform.
Thanks, Christina. Good creative on Instagram really is just good creative that you'll see elsewhere and all sorts of other channels that you've created great media. The diverse community that we have on Instagram and the variety of interests that people come to our platform to find really results in a variety of different kinds of great advertising creative. You can see here a wide spectrum of different kinds of brands and the type of content that they have built for their campaigns. Porsche here in the top left. You can see Gillette, some work from McDonald's, Burt's Bees. Each of these different brands really has found their voice, their center of gravity creatively within the platform, and built campaigns that really resonate within our community in a variety of different ways. And again, that really connects with what we've seen in general within the community, that people come to the platform for all sorts of different reasons and all sorts of different interests. And so that's opened the aperture to allow advertisers to really find their own voice, their own center of gravity within their campaigns. Just like you see with other ad campaigns that you've created for other mediums, the principles that we like to share really apply to Instagram as well. We talk a lot about campaigns being well branded, really understanding what your identity is, what your brand stands for, and how that should be reflected visually. We talk about a campaign being very concept driven, particularly on Instagram. If you're trying to drive your branding, you're trying to shift message association, drive awareness, it's really important for your campaign to say something if you want people to think something. And so that concept, that idea, that message really at the center is really accentuated within Instagram and the visual communication, the inspiration that people find there. And then finally, craft. Just being deliberate and thoughtful about how your brand expresses itself. Being well crafted doesn't necessarily mean having something that is, over the top, incredibly polished or overproduced, unless that really is reflective of your brand itself. And so it can mean a variety of different kinds of creative approaches. It's really about being thoughtful and being deliberate and really understanding what your brand stands for and what you're trying to achieve within your campaign, and making sure that the creative you built is really centered around that. And there's a variety of different ways for you to actually build the creative that lives within your campaign. Again, this is really dependent upon the objective of your campaign, what you're trying to achieve, and what you're trying to shift within your brand. If you're building a big anthem campaign, you might want to go out and hire Annie Leibovitz or Spike Jones to create your content. And so you might commission something through an agency or a production company on the one end of the spectrum, or you might have incredibly talented people in-house, or yourself. You might be really great with a camera, and you might be able to execute your campaign sort of using your own resources. We've also developed a network of content marketing partners that are able to tap into talent at scale. Folks like Tongle or Flashstock that now live within the Instagram content marketing partner network. And so we found great success there as well by tapping into those resources. Or you might have a wealth of existing assets that you can also leverage for your campaign. You can see this example here on the far left. That's really taken from existing brochures that, from the automotive industry actually sat within dealerships, and they were actually able to leverage that and build a beautiful campaign. We're seeing that more and more as people understand, again, what does your brand stand for? What are you trying to achieve within your campaign? And then what assets do you have available to you to be able to leverage for your creative? We found that this diversity of creative really it doesn't have to be hard for you to get started on Instagram. We recently ran a campaign, a test recently, and commissioned a study by Matrix Lab Mobile that surveyed 2,400 Instagram users who were asked to look through a mocked up Instagram feed that contained two types of ads. Type 1 was a good Facebook ads. And good here was really defined as ads that were part of a strongly performing Facebook brand effects campaign, or that met best practices in other kind of ways, a strong client performance or a creative democracy, things like this. The second type of creative that they saw within this mocked up feed was really Instagram themed ads. This is a little bit more subjective, but really these were ads that were inspired by Instagram hashtags, like things organized neatly. And they used colors and palettes and themes that really have an Instagram-like theme. Each survey respondent was then exposed to one ad, either type A or type 2, and then rated the ads using a standard set of ad rating questions. A total of 12 ads, 6 Facebook and 6 Instagram were used. 6 ads were CPG, 4 ads were retail, and 2 ads were auto. And you can really see that the results of that found that there was a good creative across both platforms, that great creative on Facebook actually performed incredibly well on Instagram as well. So it doesn't have to be intimidating, or it doesn't have to be difficult for you to get started on Instagram. You have a lot really at your disposal to use. They might be existing assets. They might be ads that you've run on Facebook before. There's really a lot that you can leverage to build a great campaign on Instagram. So I'm going to turn it back over to Christina now to kind of wind things up.
Thanks, Eric. To wrap up, we want to help everyone understand the Brand Solutions Toolkit on Instagram. Here's an overview of how our brand solutions can help advertisers solve their business objectives. For clients looking to drive single-day mass impact, we recommend our one-day blast buy marquee product. In fact, our marquee product has been shown to generate, on average, a 23-point ad recall lift and a 3-point average lift in top-of-mind awareness, which are both greater than our current platform norms. For those looking to buy with predictable reach, we encourage buying via reach and frequency. You can more accurately plan and predict the reach of your brand campaigns, reach unique people across your target audience, as well as manage the frequency of your brand campaigns. We've also recently enabled adding Instagram to an existing Facebook campaign when using TRP buying for those whose KPIs are anchored on cost per rating point. For those of you looking to drive efficient reach or efficient video views, remember that auction buying is also an option within brand awareness or video views objective. Across reach and frequency, TRP buying, brand awareness, and video views, our backend integration with Facebook's ad stack enables advertisers to easily run an ad set across both Facebook and Instagram. This allows our system to help optimize for the most efficient delivery of your ads to our users. For advertisers with reach goals, running across both platforms can provide additional daily reach as well as more efficient reach versus running on Facebook or Instagram independently. We've also seen a comparable cost per view for advertisers using video views objective across both platforms versus just running on Facebook mobile newsfeed alone. Ultimately, we're seeing advertisers use these different toolkit pieces to achieve several different brand objectives on the platform. For example, for brands looking to drive awareness and action at key moments, perhaps a new vehicle launch or a movie premiere, we've seen clients kick off a campaign with our marquee one-day blast buy to quickly reach 50 to 70% of their target audience. They then run reach and frequency for predictable delivery during the launch and pulse important moments by optimizing for daily unique reach on our auction systems. Through our remarketing capabilities, advertisers can then follow up their awareness campaigns with targeted direct response focused objectives, such as website conversions, to help drive action. In Asia, Sony Mobile ran a multi-objective Instagram ad campaign for the launch of their C5 smartphone. To drive awareness of the phones and their functions, Sony ran 3 separate marquee buys, each 1 week apart, over the course of 3 weeks. Then, to drive clicks to their website, they ran a series of photo ads with a Learn More call to action. At the end of their 3-week campaign, Sony saw the following results: a 6-point lift in awareness of the Sony C5, a 6-point lift increase in message awareness, and an impressive 43-point lift in ad recall among their target audience. For brands looking to build equity or shift perception, we've seen Instagram be a go-to place for them to tell their visual story. Businesses use reach and frequency buying to ensure predictable delivery for a given budget and a given time frame. McDonald's Taiwan wanted to grow equity in their brand message, "I'm loving it." They kicked off their campaign with a marquee buy for mass awareness and followed up with self-serve photo ads for 20 days to drive awareness among their target audience and to sustain their momentum. Although reach and frequency buying wasn't yet available on Instagram during the time, this is an example of how sustained media can help build brand equity. For example, McDonald's Taiwan saw a 46-point lift in ad recall and a 14-point lift in campaign awareness alone. Lastly, we recommend advertisers plan across both Facebook and Instagram just as they would any other media channel. Whether it's pre-launch, during launch, or sustained media, remember that 1 in 5 mobile minutes are spent on both Facebook and Instagram every day. Maximize efficiency across your campaign objectives by running across both Facebook and Instagram to achieve the most efficient reach and drive the highest value for your business. This brings us to the end of our webinar. We hope you take away that 1, through visual storytelling and personal relevance, we've seen clients drive real brand results for their businesses on Instagram. 2, our creative principles are simple and we've seen a variety of approaches work. And finally, 3, we have an expansive toolkit that brands are leveraging every day to effectively solve their various brand objectives and needs. Before we get to Q&A, here's what you need to know about what's coming up. First, there will be a post-webinar survey coming your way that we hope you'll help fill out. Next, a recording of this webinar will be posted to Facebook's Blueprint Learning Center. And lastly, please tune in to next week's webinar titled Performance Marketing on Instagram, which will be debuting on March 22nd. Now let's get to your questions.
Thank you, everyone that submitted questions. We'd like to start with kind of the burning question on everyone's kind of radar. Christina, could you talk a little bit to the new feed announcement?
Sure. For those of you that are unfamiliar, on March 15th, we announced that Instagram will be moving from a chronological feed to one that's more personalized. People on Instagram currently miss on average 70% of the content that they follow. This means they don't see many of the photos and videos they care about most, including those from businesses. With a more personalized feed, each person will see the moments they care about first. As we begin, we're focused on optimizing. All the posts will still be there, just in a different order. The goal is to help people see more of the moments they care about first. We believe making this change will increase time spent and posts viewed on Instagram, which benefits everyone on the platform. In particular, a more active and engaged community will only make Instagram an even more valuable channel for growing our clients' businesses.
Will organic reach decline?
At the moment, due to the way we are optimizing for our system, we believe that as long as you focus on generating good, relevant, and engaging content, reach will be contingent upon that.
Great, thank you. Moving on to some other questions. Will page post engagement be available for Instagram posts?
Yes, page post engagement is currently an available objective on Instagram. However, we highly encourage advertisers to focus on real business objectives such as brand awareness or video views when planning for their campaigns, as social signals are not always the best proxy for business results.
We have a question around how should small businesses approach creative development? Eric?
Small businesses and large businesses, anyone running a campaign on Instagram should approach creative by first thinking about what their brand stands for, what the brand should look like and feel like, really understanding your brand positioning. And then secondly, understanding what kind of business objectives you're trying to move and to achieve. And so by building your creative and your campaign around your objectives and being true to your brand and what you want everyone to think and feel about your brand consistently, whether in a campaign or even within your organic feed itself, it's important to start with those kind of questions and then think about creative and ideas that actually move those objectives forward, that are reflective of your brand and also are driving your objectives forward.
Another question we've received is, are there any discounts for nonprofits?
Great question. Currently, we do not have any discounts based on different business categories or classes.
Eric, you talked a little bit about Facebook's marketing partners. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. It was a few months ago that we announced Instagram marketing partners, and they kind of live within three categories. I sit within the creative side, so I cross paths with the third bucket, but I know the other two are similar to what you see on the FMP side, the Facebook marketing partner side. And so the three that we started with on the Instagram front are, number one, really around ad optimization, thinking about ad buying and how you can be efficient with your ad buying and making sure that you're reaching your business objectives. And then the second bucket is really around community management, and helping you to develop your relationship with your community itself. And so that's like comment moderation, other things like that. And then the third bucket is really around creative development. And what I really like about those guys is that they've found ways to scale production. For example, Tongle has 100,000 different filmmakers that you can tap into if you're trying to create video. And that gives a lot of economy of scale, and it gives a lot of regional presence and a lot of brain power around a video campaign, for example. Or Flashstock is more focused on photography, and they have a very similar model as well.
Great, thank you. Christina, can you talk about what measurement is available?
Sure. It's important to keep in mind that all measurement on Instagram is consistent with Facebook. This means that all requirements, including reach and spend minimums, are the same as Facebook.
Can you also talk to reach and frequency and if it's available to all advertisers?
Certainly. Reach and frequency is currently available for all managed clients. If you would like access to this tool, please reach out to your Facebook representative.
Christina, you talked a little bit about 60-second video ads on the platform, but then we've also talked about Instagram and having kind of snackable content. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. Enabling longer videos is something that we believe will help bring greater advertiser creative flexibility to the platform. We want to make sure that we recognize different advertisers have a variety of creative resources, and these vary by campaign. Of course, this doesn't change the nature of our platform or the creative best practices that Eric went over. Our highest priority is still enabling advertisers to tell their visual story on the platform. We are merely extending the max duration for videos.
We're getting a few different kind of questions around services. So if you're a brand that doesn't have a physical product, how do you visually tell that story and how do you represent the brand? That might be financial services. It might be, sort of hospitality. So we've crossed paths with a number of brands like that. And I think you have to be pretty creative about it. I think it does start with really understanding what your service offers, what makes them unique, what is the brand identity, and kind of what is the look and feel, and sort of how would you express that visually. But then I think it's important for you to also include some brand element. So whether that's a logo or whether that's your naming convention using sort of text overlay, we certainly allow that within Instagram imagery, so that you can really, particularly among new customers, people that are seeing a campaign as opposed to your organic feed, so we are actually driving ad recall. And so in short, if you have a service and there's no product to represent, I would lean heavily on your logo, on your branding, on some sort of connection to the brand itself so that they understand the imagery that they see is associated with your service and with your brand, and then be very thoughtful about the content itself to make sure that it ties to your brand positioning and what you offer.
Christina, can you talk a little bit more about the impact of the feed changes as it relates to ads?
Sure. So wanted to let everyone know that the feed changes that were just announced on March 15th have no impact on ads. The way our ads ranking system and serving system works will be unchanged, and this will still be ranked separately from the organic content.
Another question we have is, how can we grow followers?
This is a question we get all the time, and I wanted to reiterate that we really push businesses and brands to focus on objectives that help drive business results. For us, we've seen that followers don't necessarily equate to driving that bottom line number, and in fact, it's difficult to tell if your followers actually lie in your target audience. As a result, we do not offer products such as buy followers or add more followers as a product. We encourage advertisers to focus on using paid content to actually help amplify and drive your message to those who you are truly worried about targeting.
There's a lot of questions around direct response objectives and recommendations. Could you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, as mentioned in our closing, we highly encourage everyone who's more interested in learning about direct response on the platform to sign up for our March 22nd webinar, which will handle a lot of these questions and content around performance marketing on the platform. Thank you guys so much again for your time and for your great questions. Make sure to fill out the post-webinar survey that will be sent to you shortly. And thank you again for your time.